Hello everyone, and welcome to Channel Business Podcast with Hanne. Channel Business Podcast is all about sharing ideas, insights, and valuable tips from leaders around the world who have been rising through the struggles to where they are now.
And so the truth is, if we could all use those gifts, talents, and our stories to provide value and to serve others, we can truly make this world a better place instead of letting our adversities divide us.
I like to always say that like someone somewhere is praying for solutions you're holding on to. Like there were years ago, I was like, God, why am I the only one struggling? And the only reason I felt that I was is because I was hiding in a story. I was ashamed. I was dealing with all those emotions until I started to see how big this was and how many people were impacted.
The podcast episodes will teach you about different things, what you can take in your daily life as a leader to take things forward from one step to another. We will talk about all facets of life. What are the essential steps for you to take the business forward? I'm your Channel Business Podcast host, Hanne Nuutinen, a global business influencer, taking you to this growth ride of Channel Business episodes. With all my heart, I want to welcome you to the growth ride of today's episode in Channel Business Podcast, kind of with smiles. On today's episode, we have two amazing ladies telling us something and teaching us something about storytelling. One of our guests is Marsha Vanwynsberghe from Canada. And then we also have another amazing lady, Jennifer Yassen, a founder and a CEO of Freed Agency in New York, US. Marsha, she is a kinesiologist and a personal trainer from her earlier phase. Nowadays, she lives a life of a mother of two teenagers. She's a speaker, life adversity coach, and author of the best-selling book, When She Stopped Asking Why, as well as a podcast host and a thriving entrepreneur. She has coached and mentored people on how to make physical changes and emotional transformations to their thoughts, beliefs, habits, and actions. Marsha spent the last 5 years navigating herself through a major life and family crisis. She personally experienced financial, business, and serious health challenges, all while battling the feelings of frustration, overwhelming fatigue, and isolation. I'm sure we all can relate to those kind of things. She decided that her story and her lessons learned needed to be shared with others. She wants people to learn how to release the shame, blame, and guilt that they are feeling. She's now living her life-loving path to finding her clarity, courage, and purpose while helping others on their journey through her mission of educating, empowering, and inspiring to recognize that when you truly own your choices, you own your life. So welcome, Marsha. I'm so thrilled to have you on this podcast. And then we also have another amazing lady, another guest to add more value and spice to this conversation. She's Jennifer Yassen, a founder and a CEO of Freed Agency in New York, US. She's a holistic marketing consultant, brand strategist, story brand coach, and a founder and the CEO of this marketing agency, the Freed Agency. Jennifer is really passionate about focusing on helping heart-centered entrepreneurs to leverage social media marketing tactics and connecting the dots of their passions, story, and experience through effective storytelling, so they can create the world-changing brand while freely living out of the life they have always wanted. With a corporate background in the fashion and music industry, Jennifer helped and developed brands and product lines, launched innovative collaborations and go-to-market strategies and partnerships, including Revolve, FabFitFun, Lude Music, and some celebrity brands globally like Flower Eyewear by Drew Barrymore and Kendall and Kylie Eyewear. Jennifer tells us that using your passion and purpose, you can leverage your story and vision to ensure your brand that's meant to last. She wants to remind us that everything we do and create has an impact on the planet. Whoa, what an amazing woman we have today on the episode. So welcome, Jennifer, as well.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
I'm really, really thrilled to have you both here on the show today to discuss about the storytelling and what it really means and how it can affect on your business. So let's dive in directly to I want to know a little bit more of you too. So if you could tell us and the whole audience that what really fascinates you both in life and the people you do work with and you are surrounded by.
You want to go first, Marsha? You want me to go first?
Sure, I'll go. We'll just point. Thank you so much for having both of us today. We're thrilled to be here. What fascinates me is how we are so much more alike than different. We think that we are so different. We think we are isolated. We think we are alone most of the time, especially when it comes to shame stories, difficult stories, those emotions. And honestly, just the more I open up, I connect, with other people, like we're so much more alike than different.
So we are all the same.
We are, we truly, truly are. And I know that if you're listening, you might think, okay, but you don't know my story and you don't know how much I've struggled. And I do think that our stories do connect us. They help us to see how we are so much more similar and that we all have incredible gifts and can make a massive impact in the world in our own way, shape, or form. And there's room for everybody. There's always room for everyone.
I agree.
Yeah.
What do you have about to say, Jennifer?
Yeah, I mean, I can't agree more. I mean, the truth is we all desire to be seen, to be loved, to feel safe. Those feelings are what we always desire. And the truth is, like Marsha was saying, that no matter what you've been through, we all desire to feel those feelings, truly. And so the truth is, what fascinates me about people is we've all been through something. And it has made us better people in the long run, even though it doesn't seem like that in the moment. And the truth is, I like to think of life as college. It's hard. We're learning constantly, and it's helping us grow to become wiser and better people, even though it's very hard in those moments. And so the truth is, if we could all use those gifts, talents, and our stories to provide value and to serve others, we can truly make this world a better place instead of letting our adversities divide us.
To be like limitations for us, because that's how we usually keep them. But we need to overcome those and then just own the stories like you both say and then go forward, because those are not made to stop us, right?
Right. They're only made for our purpose, so we can use them. We are purely just vessels for others to learn. And the more we reflect on how can we be of service and how can we use what we have been through and what we've experienced to give back, it'll actually make not only your life better, but the world better tenfold.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree. And for me, if I look at my life, the journey that I've come here where I am today, I had to evolve myself many times, and I had to rewrite my story over and over again in order to go forward and not just stay in bed and, cry myself out over there. But that's what I had to do. So what would you both say that, what are you committed to?
I'm committed to growing every single day. For me, I want to become the best version of myself because I'm here. I've always wanted to make a difference in this world ever since I was a little girl. And that's something that, I strive to do every single day, because the better I make myself, I'm going to be able to better others. And that's what I want to do. I'm committed to bettering myself and to serving others.
That's beautiful. What about you, Marsha?
Oh, I mean, I'm right up there with Jennifer. I 100% believe that we go first at all times. Like we have to go first. We are like we are our business. We are the pillar in our own life. And so it's up to us to listen to what we need, how we show up, how we grow, how we evolve. And I think that yes, we do go first. And then when we lead with like a heart of service and impact, we can make such a big difference. So for me, I just want to continue to inspire people, give them permission that they can show up as their true, authentic self. Like that's a big pillar for me, is permission, is letting people see, letting people see the messy parts, to be honest, because
that's life. That's humanity,
oh my
right?
God, I think we don't
Yeah.
see enough of it right now. I really don't think we see enough of it. And it's just finding that balance between how do I show the messy, real parts and not be like a victim also where no change happens. I just really strive to be as real and authentic as possible, because it just continues to give people permission that they can show up and be their truest self at all times as well.
And also to, I think it helps them, like you said, to be vulnerable as well. So they don't have to be afraid when someone else is also vulnerable and showing the weaknesses and the strong parts as well.
100%.
Oh, that's good. I love that. We got just so deep already here.
We go deep.
We tend to do that.
Yeah. I'm very similar. So I feel this connection here, all over the world at the moment, Canada, New York, and Helsinki. And I think is that Ontario where you are, Marsha?
Yes. I'm in Ontario. Yes.
Okay, so Ontario, New York, and Helsinki. Here we come. What is so important in storytelling from your point of view? Why we should tell the stories? Do you want to go first, Marsha?
Yeah, I'm going to let Marsha go on this one.
Yeah, okay.
I'll follow.
Okay. So why should we? First off, I think that when we learn how to own and share our stories, we shift that personal power back to ourselves. Most of us spend our life feeding shame stories because we think that we're alone, right? We think we're alone. So we feed those stories. And it really sounds so black and white, but it is. The power goes to the story or the power comes to you. And when the power goes to the story, we play very small. We stay very small. We don't allow ourselves to be seen because we're still feeding this piece of us. So I think that learning how to own and share your stories allows you to connect with the people that you are meant to connect with.
Oh, that's true.
I think it's incredibly important. I hope I answered your question.
Oh, you did. You went even beyond that. But Jennifer, what about you? Why is it so important to tell your story?
Yeah, I mean, from a branding perspective, in addition to what Marsha has stated, the truth is there is no one in the world like you. And everyone is looking for reasons to stand out or how to stand out or how to attract, customers and clients to their brand and their business. And the truth is you have to use your story. That is your USP, your unique selling position, your unique selling perspective. And if you don't use your story, you are missing out on your most loyal clients, customers, brand ambassadors, fans. People crave connection.
Oh, they do. Yeah,
Brands
we all do.
Are emotional beings. Like that is essentially what they are. So people buy into brands because of how the brand makes them feel.
That's right.
And so people need to be able to see themselves in your brand.
Relating that with the humanity, like having a face for the brand.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to have a physical face.
Yeah. But some sort of emotion.
Exactly. Because people buy from people. They buy because of how you make them feel. They buy because of a connection. And that's on you to do that. And so the easiest way to do that is to use your story. And that's why it's so important.
There were lots of different points why it is so important. So, grab a pen and paper and write them down, rewind it already. But when we are telling the story, what from your point of view and from your experiences working with the brands and building the brands and also building a brand of yourself, what is so essential when telling and sharing your story and channeling it towards the business?
Yeah, it's really about, for businesses and brands, you don't have to share all of the details of your story. It's not about the details. what it's about is the lessons that you've learned, the experience,
Like the big picture there.
the big picture,
Right.
but also how you felt in those moments, because that's what people relate to, right? So I use this example a lot. Like if you ever watch Advil commercials, and you always, it tends to be like a mom with her child, and she's struggling in the moment and she wants to be there for her child, but she can't because she has a debilitating headache, and that headache is stopping her from living her life, but she takes this pill that's going to make everything better.
Right.
And so in that moment, they're visually showing how the transformation. That's what people care about. They don't care about all of the details. They care about, this is the problem I faced, this is the solution I created, and this is how your life has been transformed because I have lived this, I have experienced this, and this is what I'm giving to you now with my brand or business, right? And your business is your brand. So I use them interchangeably, just to be clear, but that's why it's so powerful. They care about the journey. People care about the journey because it gets them to the transformation. Everyone is looking for the how. How do I do this? The how is different for everybody. There is no blueprint. The only blueprint is, this is how I felt in those moments. This was my problem. This is the solution I created. And this is how I got to this transformation.
Oh, that's a good story. And like you said, everyone can relate to that. All of us has had some sort of a pain, so to say, in our lives. What about you, Marsha?
No, I couldn't agree more with what Jennifer's saying. And it is the transformation that people want to see and want to learn how to do. And so many times people will, I say people, but especially in social media, it'll be like, here's the after, look at what I've done, what I've accomplished. But that's not relatable. Like what's relatable is,
because you have to go from A to B, and if you only see the B, how are you gonna understand the road?
You have to share the journey. And I think that it's super important. Like we connect with each other based on experiences, emotions, like that pain, suffering. Sorry, that's what we connect with. And so if we don't share those real parts of ourselves and you just share the after, that's not relatable. And so I think that learning how to share more of yourself, that's vulnerability, right? Vulnerability is not sharing what everyone else did in the story. Vulnerability is like sharing what you went through and how you transformed and what those changes were. And it is uncomfortable to do, but it's not nearly as uncomfortable as what you think it is. Like we paint this picture that it's going to be so hard to share, or how do I share all the parts of my story? You don't have to share all the parts of your story. Like,
so again, paint a big picture.
No, it's not. You do not have to share all parts of the story. And in fact, like one of the things somebody asked me yesterday, what is like the one thing that is really important when it comes to storytelling and you're sharing difficult stories? It's that you always leave everyone in integrity. It doesn't matter what your situation was. You leave others in integrity and yourself. Like you speak from integrity, but you don't have to share all the pieces.
All the details. Yeah.
Not to. I really actually encourage you not to, because you'll connect with people. Like you will attract the people that you're putting out. You will. So if you're in the space of a lot of anger, resentment, you're in the story. I like to say it like if you're in that story and you're sharing the gory details of it, that's what you're going to attract. Instead, share with people how you transform that. What did that look like? The messy parts too, so that they can see themselves in your journey. Like that's what they want to see. And I think the more you focus on the pieces of the story, the emotions, those experiences, you'll attract people who don't have your story. I think that's what blew my mind in the beginning, is all of the different people that I connect with now who don't have a story anything like mine. And it's just because they could relate to the feelings, right? Shame is a universal emotion. It's like a universal emotion. So the more you can share those parts of yourselves, that's how you're going to connect, because it's almost like they can see you because you're now allowing yourself to be seen.
This is beautiful. Did you have something else you wanted to add, Jennifer?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what Marsha was saying, is that authenticity is so paramount, especially today. Being real and relatable that's what people crave. They don't crave what's fake. And especially today, they can sniff it out.
That's
And
true.
so it's really, really important that you are real. You show up as your authentic self. So I'm so
In
glad
every
that Marsha,
situation.
that
Yeah.
I'm so glad Marsha touched on that, because it's
Oh, me too.
very vital.
It's I think something that Jennifer and I have, like, is our paths have crossed, honestly, because of exactly what we're talking about. Like, exactly what we're talking about, our paths crossed and connected. We realized we were very much talking about the same, very similar things, and decided to continue to partner and like learn and support others. But the thing is, the thing is that it's like, it's a learn from me approach. When we learn how to share that, it's a learn from me approach. It's not a look at me approach. And I think that's different.
Yes.
There's a lot of look at me.
Yeah.
And
look what I'm doing. Exactly.
look what I'm doing, look what I've achieved. And again, I to be honest, I don't think that that's relatable. That's not solution oriented. Learning how to share the story, the solutions, the lessons that you learned is like a learn from me approach. And that's when you allow yourself to be seen. Now I actually think you're really stepping into impact, because you're allowing others to see what's possible.
I love that. And that is, like you said, I have to agree. It is the learning approach, not standing out to look at me, which is like what we can learn from each other's and how we can go forward and support each other's to go forward. I love that. So we touch base on the feelings, the emotions, and the experiences. What about the words? The way that you tell your story, what kind of differences there are, and or are there any differences how you can tell your story?
Well,
there
are many ways to tell your story.
Yeah.
The most important thing is, when you are actually telling your story, is make sure you state the problem, make sure you state the solution, and state the transformation. And
so
it's
those
really
three parts.
Those three parts are really important. People look for solutions. We want to fix things. We want to figure out, okay, well, this is a problem. People don't like unanswered problems. That leaves them feeling very uneasy, because then it's like, okay, their mind is going to look for a solution. So present the solution that you have, because most likely if you have a brand or business, you created something out of a need. So make sure you state that, how you filled that gap, and the solution that you created, and the transformation. Always focus on the feelings of that transformation. What does life look like for your customers and your clients after they've now come into contact and used your solution? That's really important. And I'll pass it to
Marsha. I love this, because you add value to each other's, and then you have a little different, ankle to come in. So I love this conversation already so much. Marsha, please.
No, it's been a beautiful connection. Honestly, it really has. And I couldn't agree more with what Jennifer's saying. I think the big thing when it comes to the language of sharing your story is like ownership. That's me. What did I experience? Not what did they do? What did the other person do? Those are all victim mindset, and nothing changes from that space. And I think there's enough finger pointing and yelling and stuff right now as it is. We don't need to add more to that. So I think that that's a piece of it, is like owning that this is what I experienced in the transformation. And then also sharing like the we factor, like what are your clients experiencing? What are so again, back to learn from me is like, what are the clients experience? What are their wins? What are they coming through? Because the more we can stay in that language of like, I owning my own choices. And then as well, the we, like what is everybody, we're able to.
What we can add to it, what we can put into the story.
Add. Yeah, 100%. I love the quote, like the rising tide lifts all ships. There's room for all of us. We can literally all do that. And staying out of the like you factor, like you, what have, pointing finger. That has nothing to do with storytelling. I see a lot of it. I do see a lot of it.
Oh, yes, there's actually, when you think about it, there's a lot like that. Look at me, what do I do? And then you pointing out the finger, like you said.
Yeah. And I see it, I can see it in seconds. If I meet somebody, I'm like, okay. Because that's, you have to make that change before you can make changes. And so many people I have seen firsthand I mean, we've seen it together, have had unbelievable stories, horrible circumstances. They really, really have. But standing in that space of blame and anger and resentment is not where change happens. It just is not. It's you have to
dwelling on the situation and
Yep.
in the pity of yourself.
Yep. And some people will never make that transformation. And I'm not shaming that. Like, you have
It
to
is
get
hard. Yeah.
It is hard, but it's also hard to stay small. It's also like we get to choose our hard. We always get to choose
the hard. Yeah.
We get to choose our hard. And again, just yesterday, somebody said, it's really hard to move. And I'm like, how hard is it to stand still and look around and watch other people making changes and growth and be frustrated with your journey? And she's like, really hard. I'm like, which one's harder? Like, you get to choose your heart. And I don't say that in a space of like teaching. I say it in a space of empowering. Like, we get to make a decision every single day.
Yeah.
The more we own our own decisions, no matter what our circumstances, that's when we step back into our own personal power. That's when I think we become like the powerhouses that we are meant to be, is when we can let go of the blame and stand in that space of ownership. This is where real power comes from. I say power in like a beautiful way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, totally. Wow.
I think that for that too is what you've experienced is tough. And like Marsha said, choose your hard. But the truth is no one's coming to save you.
Exactly.
You have to save yourself. So at some point you have to pick yourself up, dust your shoulders off, and chin up and move forward. It doesn't mean that you can't be sad and break down and cry. But the truth is no one is coming to save you. And I love that, I recently heard from Jen Gottlieb this week, is that every day is an opportunity to change, like wake up and live a different life. I get to choose. There is no too late. There is no that you've missed your opportunity. You can make a difference today. Exactly. It is a choice.
I agree 100%. And I've been through some challenges. You both have been through different kind of challenges, and we're not going to dive into those now, but talking about how to, like you said, own those things, stand up and go forward, show up and just be resilient and just make the significant change if we want to do that. And I think most of people want to live a better life and not live in the misery. And that's what we are meant for, to have a joy in our lives and share the stories and be with ourselves and be ourselves, but be with others. And
I think the power of my client talks about this a lot, is you can grieve, but still find peace. You can be sad and still find happy. And it really is the balance of and.
I love that. And that's the way the life goes forward, really. Oh, wow.
That's really powerful. Yeah.
That's powerful. That's deep. Like just feeling like having a moment of silence here. Okay, let's praise this. And then
meditate on that. The power of and.
Yeah, the power of and. I love that. Oh my gosh, that is so powerful. So I cannot help myself asking. You said some of those things already, but two things comes to my mind at this point. How do you build your story? Where from and what to include in it? And then the other one is what we've been touch basing already, the being yourself, standing up for yourself and truly believing your own thoughts and the influence and the positive impact that you can make for your life and the loved ones around you, really, whether they are your family or relatives or even your teammates. How do you do that? How do you build your story?
I think that it starts with going inward first, looking back at, I like to say, the timeline of what have you come through. And when I have clients do this, like I've had clients write 5 pages, 40 pages. And this became the basis of my entire book, is what was my timeline? What did I come through? And what were the lessons that I learned? And when we do that, we start to see that, there's like 4 or 5 lessons that actually I've learned on repeat multiple times. And it's funny because as humans, sometimes we drop into, okay, well, obviously I'm not very smart that I keep doing this over and over. And that's not the case. In fact, it's like the opposite. You actually are an expert in what you are continuously facing. So you have learned tools when you go inward, and lessons and things that you have learned that you are an expert on, and that's what you can share. So when you get some clarity on what those pieces are, they might not be the story. They are what you've learned from the story. They're what you've learned. And then that is standing from that space and learning how to bring yourself to the equation at all times. 100% radical responsibility. Like that's like taking ownership for the good, the bad, the ugly. We've all made choices that maybe didn't serve our best self, but we were also navigating through a lot of changes, challenges, and all those things. And then always speaking, like I say, always leaving people in integrity, speaking from integrity and leaving people in integrity. And if you can't share a story with the people that, like, if there's a story that is about other people and you couldn't speak it with them in the room, then you have no business sharing that. Like you have no business sharing that. That's
so true. Yeah.
There are pieces of your story that are never meant to be shared anywhere because it doesn't serve a higher purpose.
Yeah.
Like we don't need the great, it doesn't serve a higher purpose. It doesn't serve anyone. So that's where it's really getting clear on what can I share and what can I do. And sometimes our story is like literally summarized up in a sentence. This is what I've experienced, and these are the things I can support you on. So it's really getting clear on what it is that you can share because you are an expert. So that requires digging up and unpacking parts of who you are, seeing it differently. But and it's messy, right? We all, like, I actually really believe like healing is really messy work. We've glorified it, that it's this beautiful meditative mantra thing.
But that's bullshit in a way.
Yes.
It is that also. But
I'm so glad you said that because I was about to, and I'm like, can I swear first?
Well, that's what it is. It's a hidden phase. But if you don't fight yourself through that moment, through those minutes or hours or days or months or years, whatever that is, you cannot get to the rosy path.
No, you cannot. And that's the healing part of it. And I'll go back and quote, I believe it's Glennon Doyle, one of my favorite authors. And she says how we have our wounds and we have our scars, right? It's much easier to share from our scars than it is from our wounds. There might be parts of your wounds that are really fresh and raw. You don't have to share from that space. That's not what vulnerability doesn't mean I have to share every single thing with the world by any means whatsoever. It's like, can I share from those spaces? But I also do believe, and just from working with people, that there's a lot of people who have scars, but they're not healed. Like it's not healed.
They're just telling the scarf that, look at, I have it here, but not really owning it. Like you said, they're not looking at having the reflection of what really happened and how I felt. And I want to have move forward.
Yeah. It's a like just under the rug, move on mentality. And so when we start to do this work, sometimes like it can bring up things that it's like, this is something that they struggled with years ago, but never dealt with it. So it can be a little bit messy sometimes, but it's okay. Messy is part of the product. Like I want people to heal and move through that and speak from a very empowered space, not from that victim space.
Yeah. And Marsha's work is so critical because for me, what I want to focus on is like, how do you actually use it and make money from it?
Yeah.
Because if you can build a life around your story, not only are you freeing yourself, you are freeing others. Like Marsha was talking about, you give people permission when you go first. And I want to encourage people that you can never have to take a job again, living a 9-to-5 grind that doesn't light you up and that drains your energy. And you can build a business around your passions and your higher life's purpose. If everybody lived in their purpose, imagine what this world would look like. And everybody has been given a God-given purpose, whether you believe in the universe or something,
whatever.
It doesn't matter. You have been given a purpose and you have been given the toolbox in order to create that purpose-driven life that you can create for yourself. So it's so important that you figure out, what are you passionate about? What are you naturally good at? What do you love doing?
Oh, yeah.
And also, what makes you the angriest? What also lights you up? What do you want to lean into and actually use your energy to make a difference?
In your
Imagine
life.
what this
Yeah.
world would be. And the truth is, if you look at the trajectory of most people, everybody gets to a point in their life when they're like, I want to do something more.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to just make money. And that's who I'm after. That's who I want to be surrounded with.
Yeah.
These people that want to use their life to serve.
For themselves and also for others.
Exactly. Because listen, when we serve others, we're serving ourselves. We feel fulfillment. We feel
It comes
joy.
around, goes around,
it
right?
It comes around, right? But we can't serve others without serving ourselves first, because we only have so much energy. We only have so much within us, and you can't pour from an empty cup. And it wasn't until I came across Marsha in a mastermind when I first met her. Yeah. And it really, really rang true for me when she was like, what you need to give people is the spillage, the overflow of the cup.
Exactly.
Not from the cup.
Yeah,
what overflows from the cup. And that to me was like, okay, I now get it.
That's the gem. And I heard the first time I heard that was from David Meltzer years ago. And he keeps saying the same thing, that, you cannot give what you don't have. And that is the thing, that if you don't have a tea in your cup, how can you serve tea for others? But if you have a pot of tea, then you can give cup for yourself and for others.
100%. And so many people will be stuck in the mindset of angry and frustrated because their cup is empty. No one's helping them. No one's like filling it. And I actually look sometimes, I'm like, well, whose cup is it? Like, is it
even yours? Yeah. And if you have borrowed,
right? Yeah. You have to take ownership for that cup. That's your responsibility. And it sounds harsh, but the more we can stand in that, like, we are taking ownership and responsibility for ourselves and what we need. That's how we create overflow to support others.
Oh, I love that. I totally love that. That's good. And I even think that, there might be a time that you need to borrow, or you have borrowed that cup from someone else. Mm-hmm. But it is all the same. If you don't pour anything into it, you cannot go forward, really. You just end up breaking the cup, or just looking at it empty and being
throwing the cup.
Yes. That's what I think. Those are really, really good lessons, I think, for any one of us, and reminders how to look the life and how to look ourselves, how we can really go forward, and what is it all about to channel the business forward, to fill your cup, and then with whatever different things you need and yourself, and then go forward with that and ask for help.
I just want to add to, because I'm super passionate about this. I think brands forget that they have a civic duty, that they actually have a responsibility to show up authentically and to make a difference. Yeah. Like, you don't just exist to serve your bottom line. That's not why. And the truth is,
that's not lasting.
Brands that actually survive and have a legacy and sustain is because they understand this concept. Whether they're doing, great by the world or great by their customers. I would prefer the latter, or the former, but
it's not,
But the truth is, when you exist to only serve your bottom line, it's a short-term solution.
It is.
And frankly, what happens when you have short-term solutions? It doesn't last. If you're hungry and you eat fast food constantly, that's not going to be good for your health, the longevity of your life. So you have to think about the decisions that you're making today. How is it actually impacting the longevity in the longer term of your business?
That's right. That's right. That is a good thing. And I have to add here that I'm currently, one of the projects that I'm working with is sustainability for small and medium-sized companies here in Finland. And what we do with the team of experts from different industries and different backgrounds is that we help the SMEs, the leaders there, to think about the business in a sustainable way, holistic, sustainable way. And that includes all areas of that business. And if you, like you said, Jennifer, if you're looking at it very short term, it doesn't last, and you cannot build the brand, and there's no relatable things, and you are not going to be in the business and staying in the business, very long time. And then you don't own your story, like Marsha has been saying, that you have to own the story. So I want to ask you, Marsha, the people have said that you truly empower them to own their life, so then they can choose their life. What does that mean, choosing your life, and how is it done? You said something, before, but maybe you can clarify that a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's so funny because it's a series of steps, but then it's also, sometimes it's like a light switch. It's like once it switches, it's like you don't go back because you see things differently now. What I mean by that is that when we take that ownership back of our story, of what the choices that we've made in our story, and as Stephen Covey always says, right, I love this quote, is that we are not a product of our circumstances, we are a product of our decisions. So
that's so true.
It's our decisions. And if you really, like, I want this to land in the sense that if you have people that you admire for what they've done, for what they've come through, like for how they show up, the impact.
It's a gem.
Honestly, like if you really truly knew their story, they have walked through so much fire in their life to get to where they are. You're looking at them up here and you're thinking, oh, like they can do it like this, but you didn't see the 20 chapters that led them there. So they have walked through those pieces. So it's really knowing that if someone else you're I don't want to say admiring, but you're admiring what they are creating and what they're doing, they're giving you permission to show that, like, you can do the same thing too, step by step. So it really comes down to, in my opinion, and from what I have seen, it comes down to like owning those choices, those decisions, no matter what is happening, and recognizing what can I do differently, feedback, what can I do differently, not shaming ourselves, not judging ourselves, not being critical.
But just saying, this happened, I made that choice, it maybe wasn't the good, but okay, what I can do differently in order to have a better thing, whatever that is.
We've all had circumstances, we've all had things happen, but like, how could I responded differently? What could I have done differently? And it's that 100% of coming back to radical ownership, like radical responsibility. What is mine to own, and how can I choose to do something differently?
How can I rewrite my story?
Keep checking back in. But once I started to see things that way, like I couldn't unsee it. And so sometimes when I'm really frustrated, I'm like, okay, wait, what are my choices and what am I doing? And it's like, oh crap, I'm not doing any of the things that
I want to do or who I want to become, right?
Yeah. And that's that ownership piece. And I think the more you can circle back to that, then you can start to see how your story has made you who you are. And this is a really challenging one for people, because we can't love ourselves and hate everything that made us who we are. We can't like bury that in shame and practice self-love.
We do play a part in our life. We do play a part in our story.
Yeah.
So
it's a very fake Band-Aid to be in that space of talking about self-love, but like feeding shame constantly for everything we come through. So I know it's hard because people have walked through really difficult stories. I honor that. But when we recognize, like, would I be the person I am today if I hadn't come through that?
Yeah.
And the answer is not a chance, like not a chance. And
definitely.
I like to believe, and I own the fact that like our stories have shaped us into who we are. What we choose to do with that is up to us. But maybe we walked through some of these challenges because we can actually do something. It can become part of our mission, part of our purpose, part of our impact, because who knows it better than us? We walked it. Yeah. And there are just some things you cannot learn in a book. You learn by doing. And so when you learn by doing, why not pay that forward? Like that becomes part of that impact that you can create.
Oh, I love that. I see we're in a Zoom call now, and Jennifer is laughing there or smiling there. What do you want to add here? I'm anxious to know.
I just love that. You can learn,
me too. Yeah.
You can learn as much as you can in a book, but the truth
it's not the whole story. Yeah.
It's not it. And that's not what people relate to, because you can fake the knowledge all day. Like I said this the other day, but I was like, you can fake owning the Lamborghini. It doesn't mean you own it. Doesn't mean you can afford it. And there's a difference in faking and being real.
That's right.
You can acquire all the knowledge. You can go to all of the, self-help gurus, do all the courses. But the truth is it doesn't actually begin until you start doing the work.
That's right.
The power is in the action.
Oh, it is, definitely.
And
being resilient, doing that same thing, and all the different things that you need to do.
Exactly. You learn
there.
much more from failure than you do success.
Oh, that's so true.
And
that is so true.
You have to remember that, to me, there is no failure. Just my dad used to
learning
say,
lessons,
falling forward, right?
Oh yeah.
And it really is important that we remember that we learn by doing. We don't learn in books. Yes, you can learn and acquire knowledge, and you can see what other people are doing.
But you still
how do you apply that for yourself, though?
Yeah,
it doesn't actually work if you try to be like someone else. No. Because your DNA is unique to you. Exactly. And just like your DNA is unique, your business is unique, your brand is unique. And so just because it worked for someone else does not mean it's going to work for you.
And you still have a different kind of situation. There's no exact things for any of us, or any businesses, or any circumstances. All the time it may look it's similar kind of situation for your brand or for your business, but still there are different areas that are totally different, so you have to adjust that. But Jennifer, I love to ask you, how do you affect people leaving on the positive mark by telling and sharing their stories in business? How
do I affect them?
To leave the positive, mark or influence or change or whatever you wish to call that.
So for people, if I'm understanding your question correctly, it's, everyone wants to make a difference. A lot of, most people want to make a difference, and they just don't know how. And so the way you can do this is by figuring out, what is your purpose? What do you actually want to do? What do you want? What do you want to achieve? How do you want to impact people's lives? And everyone has a part to play. We're all puzzle pieces in this grand puzzle of life. And if you don't claim your puzzle piece, someone else cannot claim theirs. So it's really important that we show up and do our part, play our role. We have a role to play. And so I want to encourage people to own that piece of themselves and build a business that can not only greatly affect their lives, but the lives of others. And how you do this through storytelling is really showing up, using your story, and making it relatable. So people are buying into you. They're buying into, they want to connect with you. They're part of your community. Community is the way. We achieve much greater things together than we do separate. And I firmly believe in the power of collaboration. I know Marsha does too. We achieve so much more when we hold hands and do it together than we try to do it
things
ourselves. Yeah.
Yes.
And so, so that's what, I hope I answered your question.
You did.
Okay.
from at least from my part, I understood totally what you said. And to leave the positive impact is really being yourself and speaking from there. Because I don't think any one of us in the end wants to make a chaos or wants to be a bad person. And from that end, we want to do good.
We want to do good so we can experience joy and happiness. And when you get to the end of your life, are you going to be happy with what you've done? Are you going to be happy
hopefully
with everything that you've accomplished? Are you going to be happy? Are you going to feel like there was more that you could have done? And the truth is, we don't know when our last moments are. And I know time is a construct, but life is seemingly getting shorter. And I don't know about you, but I've got a lot of work to do. And I'm sure a lot of people feel the same. And so there's no better time like the present. And
to hustle around.
Life happens now. It doesn't happen in the future. And the more you mull over it, the future is here. It's now.
It's
You
now.
have to start building it now.
That is so true. Our time is coming up with this episode, but if that's okay, I would like to ask you 2 more questions very quickly.
Absolutely.
Great. Yep. There has been so good, at least from my point of view, and I learned a new different perspectives as well already. I've been telling stories all my life and learning them and evolving them, obviously, over the time, and it's a never-ending road. It's a never-ending road, really. But I'd like to bring this home and for others to carry on forward in their lives and building the businesses, channeling them forward. When do you think about the leaders and people who you both have worked with, where a person could practice and learn more about the storytelling? Of course, obviously working with you too, but how could you look up and start doing something? Where could you start?
Well, it starts in your content. I mean, social media is such a powerful tool, and the content that you create on your website, on how you're showing up, and that's how people are going to relate to you. Everyone wants to figure out, how do I stand out online, and how do I attract more people to my business, to me, and the truth is, it's use your story in your content.
So all the things what you've learned and seen and experienced, and then put them into the business concept that you are doing for the higher purpose.
And it's about positioning, right? So if whatever your business is, whether it's coaching of a service to a product-based business, you created it for a reason. Go back to the why. People care about the why. They don't care about the how. The how, exactly. The solution of what you give them, great. But people care about the why. That's what they connect with. That's where the passion is. And that's where they see, oh, that's why I actually should be buying into this, or following this person, or engaging with this person.
So that's where you start.
Focus on the sale. The sale comes, there's a reason why the sale is at the bottom of the funnel. Focus on the connection. Focus on building your community. Focus on how you can serve, because the sale comes so much easier. Yeah. There's a reason why it's at the end of the funnel, people. Stop. Focus on the sale. It's not about you. It's about
There's a gem. Remember that.
That's your client. Yeah. So focus on how you can build authentic connections, relationships. People want to be seen and valued. Remember that. So show that you care. Show that you value them.
Show your why.
Yes. Yeah. Show your why.
And for the sake of what you're doing that. What about you, Marsha? This one thing, and then we... And
there's so many good things that Jennifer said there, and I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
I think that if I take it back to storytelling and business, it makes me feel how so many people come in and say, okay, in this time right now, like I've had to pivot, like there's so many more businesses online. How do I show up? How do I what do I do? What's the strategy? And I think that you can apply strategy to something that needs work. So if you personally need work on you first, because you're always your business, always, if you need personally, you need work on you first, your limiting beliefs, your mindset, your like whatever the story is, that you have to go first. And the more you dive into you to bring your best self forward in a heart of service for others, the bigger the impact. Money just follows. I actually really believe money just follows. And I did not set out to start a business. I actually did not, to be honest. And that's a blessing. I think that's actually a blessing because I went out to find a way to heal myself. The more I started to share my story, the more I started to connect with people. And it was just this reminder, you're not alone. You're not alone. You're not alone. There are people everywhere. There's solutions. And so their vulnerability coming forward continued to heal me and create fire and fuel to keep going. And so I think it's a real blessing. I didn't have that in mind, but as I continued to do it, a business started to unfold, and I started to see it. And it has done things that I couldn't have planned. And like I say, I'm honestly grateful. If you would have told me years ago
that this is what you're doing now,
I would have self-sabotaged it 100%. I would have burnt it to the ground because I did not feel worthy enough in order to continue to step into this. So can we all like really learn how to lead ourselves, to tap into what our gifts are, what our expertise is, and lean and lead with impact and how we can help others. And when we do that, business will unfold in a bazillion different ways than what you could have ever imagined.
Exactly.
And that is how we continue to create impact. And it's leading ourselves and stepping into that purpose. I remember a counselor said to me years ago, what if your biggest pain is actually your purpose? And I was like, what? Like that became such a, that became such a, and actually, to be honest, then it was like, okay, so now there's meaning for what I have come through, and I can create meaning with it. And that changed a lot for me to be able to help others to feel less alone, more supported, and more connected. And again, you know what, the people that, if you're in a space of like, okay, but I don't have a lot of support to share my story, I don't have a lot of people who are standing up and supporting me, don't base your decisions on the people in your present and the people in your past. I say this one all the time.
Because you never know who comes up. Yeah.
Well, look at where we are right now. We're in a, like, I do an inventory on a regular basis. Like who's in my life? Who's in my life now that was not here 6 months ago, a year ago, because I continue to show up and share. And that reminds me, right? It's not about me. It's like, what can this do and how can it help others?
Exactly.
And it just becomes a beautiful, beautiful process.
Oh, this is a good way to end this one. Oh my gosh, I love this. I love this. Okay. What is the most valuable tip for showing up, speaking out loud, and sharing your story? One from each other, and then you can tell where to find you, because this is amazing.
For me, I want to encourage people to be themselves. Free yourself from the shackles of trying to be what the world has told you to be, or what you think you have to be, what you think you should be, and go back and remember who you are. You literally have all of the answers within, and you've known who you are for quite some time. And if you don't know who you are, take some time, sit with yourself, journal on it, meditate on it, because the answers come. And remember, you're not alone, and people need you.
That's true.
But you can't serve them if you don't know who you are. So be yourself.
Exactly. Tell me, Jennifer, where people can find you.
Sure.
When they want to work with you.
Yes. So
or just to know more about you.
Yeah, I love to connect with people. So please, feel free to reach out. You can find me on Instagram at Jennifer Yassen. My website's thefreedagency.com. You can reach me on email, Jennifer@thefreedagency. I also have a podcast. You can follow us at Fiercely Forward Pod on Instagram. Would love to connect.
Excellent. What about Marsha? One tip.
So many tips there. I know so many tips to say.
Oh, there is. Just one.
There is. There really is. And I'm just narrowing it down to one. We all have gifts. Like you have gifts that you were given to learn how to step into the space of impacting others. Learn how to unpack those stories so that you can actually truly see your gifts. So you can step into like the powerhouse that you actually are meant to be. You're designed to be here. And sometimes those challenges that we walk through are shaping us into the people that we are today, or the people that we can become. And I like to always say that like someone somewhere is praying for solutions you're holding on to. Like there were years ago, I was like, God, why am I the only one struggling? And the only reason I felt that I was is because I was hiding in a story. I was ashamed. I was dealing with all those emotions until I started to see how big this was and how many people were impacted. So someone somewhere is always praying for something that you're holding on to.
That's a good reminder.
Do not be selfish. Like learn how to step forward and make that impact, because no one can do it like you. Like I can't use your gifts. You can't use mine. So leaving them untapped is untapped. So who does that impact when you don't do that? So that's the piece that I like to step into is
Beautiful.
It's a bit of a servant leadership, not myself. Who can this impact? Who can this help? And that helps me shift. Every time I am in a space of doubt or frustration, I promise you I'm making it about myself. It's 100% about myself. The second I can shift it and think, who can this help? Where can this make a difference? That helps me get out of my own head. And
that's the transformation. Yeah.
100%. 100%. And same with Jennifer. You can connect with me on Instagram.
Yeah, please. Where?
It's like, if you start typing Marsha Van W on Google, it will all show up, because the reason I've got my last name is long. So Marsha Van W is there. It's pretty much anywhere there. I have a few books on Amazon. I have 2 podcasts, Own Your Choices, Own Your Life.
And 2? Wow.
Everybody holds a story. Yep. I'm all about bodies and stories, because I really started to, when my own body went through a challenge in 2020 with a pretty severe or serious surgery, I started to understand that, okay, we can't just talk about the story and move on, because for some people, they're holding on to trauma their whole lives. Like, they're literally physically holding on to it. You can't just paint an affirmation and move on. And so we dive into sharing body stories and what that looks like. And it's just an unbelievable thing. I believe the universe is always opening up doors when we continue to show up. I really do. And so I'm committed to doing that and helping others do the same. So anywhere online you can find me is Marsha Van W.
Beautiful. Thank you. And I have to say, for the end here, that you two are really similar, and I really see why you have been connected and doing things together, because both the podcasts that you are both doing are coming from different angles, but talking about the same thing. So there's some braveness and courageous things, what you do. I love that.
Oh, thank you. And I just would love to say on that is, like, this is the beautiful part about collaboration and connection is Jennifer and I crossed paths a year ago. And then through crossing paths multiple times, we both went, okay, there's some similarity.
There's something. Yeah.
There's something here. And that's why we partner, because we run a mastermind together. Like, your story makes your brand. It's a perfect fit of what the two of us do. And we are super passionate about helping people learn how to share their story, bring themselves to their business, and create a business that has impact. Like, it's something I'm super passionate about.
Yeah, I can't agree more. Marsha makes me a better person. I'm able to learn from her, and in turn, it makes my business better. And so the truth is, partner with people, even if it seems similar, because the truth is, no one can do what you do. And there is no competition. You're only in competition with yourself. And don't be worried that someone is going to steal your spotlight, because that's not it. That's not what it's about. You can do way more together. So that's
I totally agree.
Collaboration is so vital.
Oh, I totally agree. And I could just go on forever with this conversation with these two ladies, because this is so important. And there has been so many good lessons and reminders for any one of us in any position, any part of our journeys to go forward. And that's just the way it is. We need to evolve all the time and build the good connections that I always talk about, meaningful connections that take you forward, and people who can really lift you up. So I want to thank you, dear ladies, Jennifer and Marsha, to being in this episode of Significance of Storytelling. So thank you, dear ones, and for coming along and teaching all of us some valuable daily tips and activities about the storytelling, and how can you use that, what you've been through and what you will do in the future to go forward in your life and in your business. So hopefully you have been able to grab some tips and tools from here into your daily life. So thank you so much in this podcast, being part of it, and until the next time.